Welcome, everyone. My name is Tracy Fitzpatrick, and I'll be your moderator today. Thank you so much for joining us here at NetCom Learning, a market leader in promoting lifelong learning, training, and talent development solutions. And we're very excited to host today's webinar, What's New with CompTIA Network Plus N10-008. And presenting today's topic will be Sheikh. Sheikh's been working as a cybersecurity trainer for the past 12 years, and he is experienced in training and preparing clients for various global certifications related to network, security, and cloud. Sheikh is also a Microsoft certified trainer, EC Council certified instructor, and certified cybercrime intervention officer. He holds multiple certifications related to network, security, cloud, and much more. Now, please bear in mind that this is an overview of a very robust topic. We do offer a collection of technical and business courses that can be tailored towards your specific requirements. If you are interested in a further discussion, you can make an appointment with our learning consultants through our website at netcomlearning.com. NetCom Learning helps customers build innovative learning organizations by achieving a smarter workforce, adapting to change, and driving growth. We do this with a broad catalog of offerings, developing customized learning plans, and our global delivery capabilities. Since 1998, we've been empowering organizations with our managed learning services to help them reach optimal performance results and address challenges. NetCom Learning also offers comprehensive training portfolio for networking courses, which you can check out our upcoming classes there on your screen, so be sure to sign up for those. Private training to teams is also available, of which the learning plan can be customized to the specific needs of that audience. You can also access a variety of networking marketing assets, such as the free 1-hour training, free on-demand training, and blogs by clicking on the available webinar handout. These offerings can be found with a simple search on our website at netcomlearning.com. And finally, I'm going to pass this over to Sheikh, who will be presenting today's webinar.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we're going to get started here. What is new with CompTIA Network Plus N10-008? So before we start this topic, most of the times we are concerned about networking, because whatever certifications you do, whether it's in blockchain, it is in Hadoop, it is IoT, it's big data, whatever you do, it is security. So basics of networking is very important. So it's going to make our fundamentals, clear or very strong. And this is one of the recognized certification from CompTIA, and the latest version N10-008. So let's see what we have here in N10-008. So the agenda for this webinar is we are going to go through these modules. Lesson 1 is comparing OSI model network functions. Then we have deploy Ethernet cabling, Ethernet switching, troubleshoot Ethernet networks, IPv4 addressing. Then we will try to compare that with IPv6, and we'll try to configure and troubleshoot routers. We'll see here network topologies, then we'll see transport layer protocols and network services. Module 11, we have network applications, ensure network availability, explaining common security concepts, supporting and troubleshooting secure networks, deploying and troubleshooting wireless networks. Then we'll see WAN links and remote access methods. Then we'll see organizational and physical security concepts, disaster recovery and high availability, and then network hardening techniques. And we're going to summarize cloud and data center architecture. So I'm going to give an overview on all these modules. So the exam objectives, if we see here, the course is divided, which is going to cover your exam objectives into blocks based on these themes. Like, if you check the OSI model, which is the core of networking, whatever you do, we start with OSI model. There's 7 layers: physical data, network transport, session, presentation, application. So here in if we see more lessons 1 to 4, they are taken from your physical and data link layer. Then you have lesson 5 and 8 taken from your network layer, and the upper layers you have model 9 and 12. Then you have some security concepts, wireless networks taken from here we have lesson 13 or 16. 17, 20 is on site security, cloud and data center. So most of this goes around our OSI model. On course completion, you'll be able to deploy and troubleshoot Ethernet networks. You'll support IPv4 and IPv6 networks, configure and troubleshoot routers, support network service and applications, ensure network security and availability, deploy and troubleshoot wireless networks, support WAN links and remote access methods, support organizational procedures and site security controls, summarize cloud and data center architecture. So this is the objective once we complete this course, once you attend official training. So this is the objective. Now, let's see what we have in all these modules. So if you see the first module, it is on comparing OSI model network function. So we have 7 layers: physical, data, network transport, session, presentation, application. So each layer has some functions. Now, why it was designed, there were a lot of reasons, but the main reason was, to reduce compatibility issues. Earlier, if you buy one device from IBM, like, let's say pen drive, you need to buy other device also from IBM, because if you buy it from some other provider, there are a lot of compatibility issues. So if you follow OSM model, you're going to design that component with a particular standard, so you don't face that problem. Or else, if you troubleshoot your networks, if you follow OSM model, it will be easy to do logical troubleshooting. I have been working, I started my job with AT&T. I was troubleshooting AT&T networks, and I was using OSM model to fix any network connectivity. So it's very important, it's very relevant. Like, you have these layers, like, physical layer, you're talking about those cables and all that. Data link layer, here you're talking about MAC addresses, frames and all that. Switch works here. Network layer, here you're talking about IP addresses, router works here. And then here transport layer, it is about port number. So it is a segment, this is packet. So this is about how you transfer the data from source to destination. And then you create multiple sessions here and have session IDs to separate those sessions, or you present data in a standard format. So how does my computer know that it has to use Acrobat Reader to open PDF? Because of presentation layer. Or application layer is when you open the browser and all that, right? So here we have a small office, home office router. So this is all in one router, because what do you need? Like, if you are trying to get some signals from outside, those are analog signals, you need to convert them to digital signal, because your computer understands digital signals. So you need something to convert analog to digital. You need a modem, or you need a switch to connect 4 computers. You need an access point where you can connect wireless devices, or you need a NAT to have a mapping of public and private IPs, or you need a lot of those things. You need parental control, you need firewall. This is where you have all-in-one device for small networks. So we're going to understand in detail on OSM model, functioning of all the layers, what are SOHO networks in module 1. So module 2 talks about Ethernet cabling. So here we'll understand about IEEE 802.3 10 base T, and the protocol which was for this, when we had all those hubs. So CSMA CD, sense multiple access collision detection. If there's a collision, because all those devices are sharing same media, how to react or how to avoid that collision. We had gigabit Ethernet standards. Ethernet is very common because of its popularity, because it is cheap, it is easy to work with. So it's a standard where you have Ethernet switch, Ethernet hub, Ethernet routers, Ethernet devices. And these are some types of cables, unshielded, or you have a shielded twisted pair, or cat with different categories. You have cat 4, cat 5, cat 6, 6A, 7, and connectors like RJ45, that tip which you connect a cable to your computer, or RJ11 when you connect a telephone, or for a T568 A and B, how you connect those colors, because you have different color coding. Cables are banded to reduce that EMI. So there's a logic for everything, why there's a color, why they are being banded, why they don't run straight, right? So you need to follow a standard to avoid any confusion. So we're going to understand all of this in detail. Then coaxial cables, which were used for that kind of TVs and all that, right? So after that, you had fiber optic cables, right? So nowadays we see fiber to the premises, right? So you have single mode, you have multi-mode, you have the connectors for these fiber optic cables. So now, do you use laser? Do you use any other source to send that traffic? And is it to connect your sites, so how far they are, and how much data you want to send all? So there are a lot of things here which we'll discuss in detail in the official training. So deploy Ethernet cabling, there's a structure for that, or there's a cable management to make it sure that we connect those cables properly. You might have seen in the data center, it looks like proper if we have those cables connected properly. So wiring tools and techniques will understand in module 2. Module 3 is about network devices, whether it's a repeater which is going to repeat your signals, is it a hub which is a multi-port repeater not being used today, but still we understand the history, or bridges which used to separate that traffic, right? Or switch which are multi-port bridge to connect device for ease of management, or the interfaces, NIC card, NIC card, because internet was not important, now it is compulsory, you have those cards, like, or frame, MAC address 48-bit. So what that is, you have two parts, and we're going to understand that in detail. Or maximum transmission unit is the maximum kind of size of packet you can send, right? So you have tools, Wireshark or TCP dump, where we understand that traffic for troubleshooting and all, right? So manage or unmanaged switch, module and fix, we'll see what is the difference and what is the advantage of, and what is the, how we do the interface configuration, whether we are in enable mode, config mode, different modes, whether it goes to Cisco or any other switch, how we configure that switch, right? So MAC tables, flow control, what is the need, and if you send a power to some devices over the Ethernet, so we'll understand that in detail. Module 4 is troubleshooting Ethernet network. So we'll follow a CompTIA troubleshooting methodology. So if you work as a technician where you troubleshoot a network, so you need to follow a standard. First, you need to identify what is the problem, and then what is the theory of probable cause. So what might fix it? Then you test that. Is it this or is it that? My internet is not working. Is it because of this or is it because of that? Then you have a plan of action to resolve, all those issues. Then you try to fix it. If you're not, you need to escalate that to level 2, or you try to verify is your system functioning properly once you fix it, right? So if it's applicable, implement some preventive measures. So you can tell users like, this is what caused the problem, so please avoid this. You document the findings, actions, and outcomes. So documentation is very important. Others can also refer it, right? So here we'll also discuss about specifics and limitations, what are cable issues, what are the different testers you use if you work in troubleshooting networks, and what is attenuation, what is crosstalk disturbances, and all that, how to reduce that. So we'll discuss all that in detail. Module 4 will talk about IPv4 addressing, which is 32-bit address. So we have 4 octets. That's a packet because it contains source IP and destination IP. So what is the address format we have? Subnet mask. Subnetting is very important because we were trying to reserve those IPs. So that's where we come up with subnet and then subnet mask here. So subnet mask makes it sure that when you try to send a data, it will check whether the destination is in a SAM network or a different network, like address format, how it needs to be. And L2 and L3, where you have MAC address and IP address. Why we need 2 addresses, right? Default gateway, why we need a default gateway, because you don't know where Google is, or maybe some other server which is outside your network. So you will send that traffic through the default gateway. By default it will go out through that gateway. ARPs, address resolution protocol, which you are mapping of MAC and IP. So most of the times we do ARP poisoning attack. For that, we need to understand what ARP is, what is unicast, one-to-one, or one-to-many, or one-to a group, broadcasting. So everything, these are modes of communication will be discussed in detail. So VLANs, and subnets. VLANs happen at layer 2, where you create it with switch or subnets, for segregation to protect your networks or classful addresses, A, B, C, D, E, 0 to 127, 128 to 191, 192, 223, 224, 239, 240, 255. That's the range we need to remember. But now we are going for IPv6, but still, we can remember that range. Why we need a private address? Why we need a public address? So private address is like your ID card. It works in your company. But public is like your passport. It can work anywhere outside. You're paying for public IP. Private, I can use. You can also use, the same IP in your network. But public is unique. Subnetting. So we'll start doing the subnetting. That's where we break a net into subnets, multiple nets. So what happens here? We need to follow some standard, some logic to divide that big network into small networks. So you're going to reduce those broadcast domains or collision domains. So you have less broadcast, you have less collision. Let's assume we have a big class here where we have a lot of students here in this class. Let's assume we have 20 students, so they make a lot of noise. So I'm just going to break them into 2, 10 here, 10 here. Now what happens? So I can hear only this much noise. So I'm going to reduce that noise, reduce that collision and all that, right? So that is very important. Use appropriate tools, right? So use appropriate tools here to test IP configuration. So like, you have IP config. So We are going to understand a lot of tools, why we use ipconfig to check the IP address and all the details. ARP cache, how we check what's in the ARP, because sometimes if attacker does any kind of an attack, I need to see what's in the entry, or I need to ping to check connectivity, path ping, and also all these commands are discussed in detail. What are the switches and all that. Troubleshooting IP networks, we are going to understand how we troubleshoot hardware failures or network interface issues, IP config issues. So if you assign an IP address, there are two ways, static or dynamic. What happens if there's a problem? IPs are not getting assigned properly. So how to fix that? You're getting APIPA, automatic private IP address, or you're getting 0.0.0.0. You release that IP, you rename the IP, you check the IP address, or if you're getting some duplicate addresses, right? So how to solve that? Or if there's any DNS issues, DNS is not doing proper mapping of your domain name and IP because there's a DNS poisoning attack, right? Here we'll understand the difference between IPv4 and IPv6, the addressing format, how that packet looks like, and the transition, because we need to move from IPv4 to IPv6. Now we are using tunneling, dual stack and all those techniques, because ultimately we will be moving to IPv6, but right now we're using both IPv4 and IPv6 together, using a lot of techniques we will understand here. Configure and troubleshoot routers. So here we'll compare and contrast what are routing concepts, what is a routing table, why we need it, how a router is going to select a path, what's a static route, what's a default route, what's a dynamic route, so why we need it, and what is packet forwarding, why we need fragmentation, because I can do an attack using fragmentation. I break the packet into small packets, so your firewall, I can bypass that. So for that, we need to understand. So these are some dynamic routing protocols, because routers will share routing table with each router automatically. If it's a big network, I don't need to manage, it happens automatically. Interior versus exterior gateway protocols, something which is within the autonomous system and something which is outside the autonomous system. So RIP, OSPF, EIGRP, BGP, these are the common protocols. Routing information protocol, open shortest path first, enhanced interior gateway routing protocol, border gateway protocol. We're going to discuss about these protocols, how they work at all in detail. Administrative distance, so if you have multiple route, so which route to select based on the AD, lesser the AD, that will be given more choice. So CIDR VLSM, so classless interdomain routing, so it is not classful, so now we represent that subnet with a form of /23. Those are number of ones. This is your CIDR, so no classes. Or VLSM, where you have a variable length subnet mask, so how you can use it to save some addresses. So you're going to have subnet mask with various sizes, and you fix it as per the requirement. And we'll see here, what are edge routers, why we need internal routers, and router configuration, how we do that on a router, why we need trace route, and troubleshooting router issues. So in module 7. Module 8 is here we'll understand about network types and characteristics. So what's client and server, what's peer-to-peer, what is LAN, MAN, and WAN, what are the different topologies, bus, star, ring, mesh, hybrid, and we also understand Cisco's three-tier hierarchy. There are access routers, there are distribution and core. So access is where you can connect your devices, distribution is for some other purpose, and core is the backbone, or how you prevent loop through spanning tree protocol. We'll understand that in detail, or why we need VLAN IDs. For every VLAN, to understand the traffic coming from a particular VLAN, we need an ID for that. Or trunking and IEEE. So we have an access port, we have a trunking port, where you send the traffic between different VLANs through the trunking, or it has a tag. This is a standard which is going to apply that tag to the traffic. Or about voice VLANs, why we need them. Then in lesson 9, we'll understand transport layer protocols. Okay, so we have at the transport layer, we have TCP and UDP. So here we'll understand what are the different common ports we need to understand, or what is TCP three-way handshake. Like, you send a SYNC, server will send SYNC, you will send ACK, and why you need it. What are different kind of things in this three-way handshake, or what are UDP ports, what are common ports. We'll understand that. What's the difference between TCP and UDP, or some tools like Angry IP Scanner to scan for some ports, or Nmap, very nice tool. When you work in security, you are going to understand what is the vulnerability behind any server using Nmap, or Zenmap, which is a graphical version, or Netstate. What is what kind of IPs is your machine connecting to? So you can just check that with Netstate A, Netstate ANO, Netstate C, and all that. And protocol analyzers. We're talking about Wireshark and all that. How you analyze different protocols. Lesson 10 is on network services. Like, here we'll understand about DHCP, how you get IP address using DHCP DORA process, how discovery happens, offer, request, acknowledgement, when you get an IP address automatically on what you're not getting it permanently, but you're getting that IP on a lease. And sometimes server is going to reserve some IP addresses. So how to configure that, or, how DNS resolution happens, what are the host names, because DNS does the resolution of domain name with IP. So how it happens, what's fully qualified domain name, and what are the different record types, A record, AAA record, or C canonical name records and all. We'll understand why we need that, startup authority and all. And two types of servers, primary or secondary. We're talking about authoritative and non-authoritative server. When there's a zone transfer, why we need them, why we need DNS cache, how long we can keep that cache using TTL, why we need internal DNS, why we need external DNS, and how we do NS lookup, or dig commands here, troubleshooting, DNS issues. And then lesson 11 is on explaining network applications. So here we'll explain the use of web, file printer, and database servers. We'll go in detail on HTTP, SSL, and TLS, why we need certificates, digital certificates, what is secure communication on FTP also, is it SFTP or FTPS, on SSL or TLS, or what are file and printer services we have, database services. We'll understand that in detail. Or email protocols, like SMTP for sending you a mail, simple mail transfer protocol, why we need POP, post office protocol, why we need IMAP, internet message access protocol for receiving the mail, because on POP you can have more control, you can decide what you want to download. So if you need it, if that's the purpose, you can go for this. Or for WIPE, session initiation protocol, how WIPE sessions happen, because someone can do wishing, voice over IP, phishing, right? All those attacks will happen, but for that we need to understand first what they are. Ensure network availability. So here we'll understand what SSH secure shell is, what telnet is, why we should go for SSH, why we should avoid RDP, remote desktop protocol 3389 port, or NTP network time protocol, where all the servers can synchronize time. And then use event management and ensure network availability. So performance matrix, why we need bottlenecks, what are the baselines, why we need SNMP for simple network management, or what are the device logs, why we need to understand these logs so we can discover more about those attacks. Or event management, we can just review those logs, go to the event viewer and check what's happening. Use performance matrix to ensure network availability, like quality of service, bandwidth, latency, why we need to if you need to give guarantee to someone, so how you can maintain that, or bandwidth management, or how you analyze the traffic. So network flow is from Cisco to see how traffic flows. And then we are moving to security concept, like we need to ensure confidentiality, integrity, availability, like what is vulnerability, loopholes, what is a threat, a threat actor, what are the risks, if we say something is risk, so something is bad. So how we do the security risk assessment, how we find the vulnerability, or how we find the exploit types, what are the different threats, because we need to understand in our environment what are the different threats. It could be man-made, it could be human. Or we do the assessment, we need to understand why we need a SIEM solution, whether it's QRadar, whether it is Splunk, Alien Vault, Logarithm, and why we need penetration testing if we already do vulnerability analysis, right? So privilege access management, why we need it. Vendor assessment, it's very important nowadays to do the assessment for a vendor also. Or why we need, for authentication, multi-factor authentication, or single sign-on through Kerberos, which is being, replaced by Microsoft. Or why we have digital certificates, so where we can trust a website. Or PKI deals with all these certificates, right? So radius server, remote access dial-in user service, why we need it to manage those users identity, and LDAP, right? So all this will be discussed in detail. Lightweight directory access protocol, supporting and troubleshooting secure networks. So here we'll compare and contrast security appliances. We'll see why we need to segment networks, why we need a screen subnet, so you keep some server there, it's a medium layer security. What are the different types of firewalls working at the OSI model? It's a packet layer, it's a session layer, is it application layer? Why we need a proxy as a middleman, so you avoid getting detected, or proxy switchers and all that. NAT, which does a mapping of public and private IP, or IDS IPS for intrusion detection and prevention, or sometimes you use IDPS. So what is the use and all? What are the DHCP issues? What if DHCP could not assign IP address properly? What if DNS is not doing proper mapping? What if performance is not as it should be? You are being guaranteed that you are given some bandwidth, it doesn't happen. Like firewall issues, certification issues. What if you're getting some bad certificates and all that, right? So we'll understand that. Module 5 will see about wireless. And cellular technologies, 2G, 3G, 5G, everything will be discussed in detail. And here we'll see about access points, why you need it, how you connect those clients, and how you design, or you need to do a survey, because if you want to set up access point, you need to first do a site survey, or you need to control, if you have multiple access points, how you can control them, whether it's ad hoc where there's no access point, or a mesh topology where you have multiple connections. We'll troubleshoot wireless performance assessment. We'll see if what's your signal strength, how to assess that, what are the different types of antennas, is parabolic, is it a dipole, and all that. If there's an insufficient wireless coverage, how to overcome that, and what if there's a channel overlap, like 1711, how we choose that channel, or what are the encryption standard configuration issues. Maybe you forget to apply proper standard, or client disassociation, your client is not able to connect to access point, or you're using open authentication, how you should make sure that you're using strong.
Before we get to our attendees' great questions, I do want to pass the presentation over to Joby, who is our VP for Vendor Operations, who's going to let you all know about some fantastic promotions and webinars that NetCom will be offering to you. So here we go. Joby, you got the screen. You are live.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you, Sheikh, for that detailed briefing on what Network Plus does, what does it contain, and I'm sure our audience has definitely taken advantage of your quick briefing, and I would encourage all of you to get in touch with us if you think that's something of interest to you. So I'll not take too much of your time, but I thought since you're here, I would quickly take you through a few things apart from CompTIA's Network Plus. So quickly to tell you what is NetCom's purpose. Our purpose is to promote the values of lifelong learning. We have global delivery capabilities with 3 locations within United States, and apart from that, more than 35 satellite locations as well. So because of the virtual world these days, we have capability to deliver classes across the world. We are more than 2 decades old organization in the training IT training space, and these are some of our accomplishments. We have serviced more than 80% of the Fortune 1000 organizations. More than 150,000 professionals have undertaken training through NetCom, and we've been recommended by 96% of our customers. This is a quick rather a short profile of what type of clients do we cater to. We cater to government, education, financial services, retail, manufacturing, and many more. Just for you to understand that every customer who needs a training, or every enterprise client who needs a training, we are there for them. What are the training solutions we offer? One is the virtual instructor-led training, which is the online live training. We also provide instructor-led training, which means if there's a classroom training which you or your company requires, we're there. We can also schedule private trainings exclusively for your organization. And we also have a host of courses in e-learning as well, which is the in thing these days, right? CompTIA. So we heard about Network Plus and what does it contain. So if you see the the screen on the screen, the slide which you have, this is where Network Plus stands. Apart from this, if you go further, you have Security Plus from CompTIA, and then you could branch out into pathways. One is an infrastructure pathway, in which you have Server Plus, Linux Plus, and Cloud Plus, or you can choose a cybersecurity pathway in which Pentest Plus, CISA Plus, and CASP Plus is part of it. If you're looking at professional skills, they have 3 separate programs which you see on the screen. If you're looking at data analytics or data side of the business, CompTIA has also recently launched a course called Data Plus. You could visit our website netcomlearning.com for more information. These are some of those logos which we could fit into the screen of some of our clients. These names, I'm sure, does resonate with you as well. So it contains both the federal, the state, and as well as the private enterprise within the American and North American markets. Now, I'll come back to this slide a little later. Allow me to share my browsers, and I would request each one of you to spend some time on our website, netcomlearning.com. We have a host of information which is available, which could be helpful in terms of your learning plan, which you might be learning, or training plans which you might be working on. For example, we have let's say you decide to take a deeper look at what does CompTIA offer. So if you go into the CompTIA page on NetCom Plus, netcomlearning.com, this is what you would see. So if you get into the detailed, get into the page, it'll talk about what categories and what trainings does NetCom Learning offer in CompTIA. Talking about, we have already seen this, then I would like to introduce you to a very attractive product offering from NetCom Learning, which we call it as NetCom Plus. It's a subscription which actually contains more than 250 e-learning courses and 140 virtual instructor-led courses. So you have access to that, and you get all of these at attractive price of 2,999 per subscription. If you are an enterprise who's looking for training and certifications for your team, this could be a good option for you. So looking at this, 240 odd 250 e-learning courses and 140 virtual instructor-led courses includes CompTIA and or many other vendors. I would encourage you to visit our website to get more details about this attractive subscription from NetCom Learning. I would also encourage you to visit our promotions page, on which we have a free 2-hour cybersecurity training on different topics. We keep running these trainings at no cost to you. Please do visit our website on the promotions page and go to free cybersecurity training. You could get more information about it. It only costs you your time. We do not sort of charge you anything. We would like to share as much knowledge as we can during these 2-hour sessions. So please utilize this, and register for this, and please do attend this. So that's what I wanted to tell you about NetCom's offering. One of those products which is being is in the works and will be launched shortly by NetCom Learning is a cybersecurity awareness solution. It includes phishing simulation, and it also includes security awareness training. Now, all of us know what's happening around the world, right? We all hear about Russia, and we hear about many other things which are happening. So I don't want to get into the details of what's mentioned here, but I just want you to understand that about 85% of the breaches involves a human element, which means an average person like you or me, who's working for an organization, might end up making a small mistake, which could actually become a very expensive affair for our employers or for the organization. So that is what this particular solution which we are talking about addresses. So let's understand, what does phishing mean. I'm not going to take too much of your time explaining these things, but just broadly, how does phishing happen? There is email phishing, there is voice phishing. Sheikh was talking about it, right? And then there is SMS phishing. So they can try and entice you on email or on voice call or on SMS, which we receive on our mobile handsets. What kind of strategies do they use to entice people? There is greed, fear, curiosity, panic, and opportunity. These are the themes which they use. And then, things which are closer to our heart, to everyone: banking, money, right? And then social media, office, personal, or shopping. So what they do is they try to trick you by sending some enticing information, which will force you to sort of, which will sort of encourage you to click on something or maybe download something. So these are the strategies which the hackers these days use. And so we have the solution which actually tests the employees within an organization on different scenarios of by doing harmless simulations on email phishing, voice phishing, or SMS phishing. So our methodology basically involves these steps which you see on the screen. This includes, once the campaign, the phishing campaign is done, you can monitor it, that you can have a report, and the most important part, remediate. Remediate primarily means that those employees who have made a error or by clicking on something which they should not have, they undergo a small self-learning, self-paced, training on that particular topic, so that the next time they face a similar scenario, they do not make those mistakes. One quick thing, many of your organizations would be part of some compliance system. It could be an ISO, your company organization might be an ISO compliant organization, maybe GDPR, FISMA, or if you're a financial services organization related to payments, PCI is part of it, HIPAA, and so on, right? So there are these mechanisms. So if any of your organizations are part of these compliance systems, security awareness training for their employees is an integral part of it. So this product which we are about to launch would be a beautiful solution for you. So features I've already explained. It's basically quite intuitive and very easy to use, and it includes test and train. Test when we do phishing simulations, email, voice, and SMS, and train when we offer more than 100 different kinds of 100 different courses on security awareness, how to be safe. So some of those topics I have pasted it on the screen right now. So if you see, for example, fake news, how do you discover, how do you sort of handle a fake news which is being sent to you, or how do you manage IoT security at home, or what is email spoofing, what is malware, what a bit about cloud security. So these are not hardcore cybersecurity topics, but for any person who's a device user to use. So I would say, look out for this product launch notification, which might come your way. And once we launch it, I would encourage you all to have a look at it as well. Thank you. That's all from my side. Tracy, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sheikh, for all of that great information. I'm sure people will be totally interested in signing up for all those great courses. And we do have time for some quick questions that you all sent in. So let's just get on with this and pass this over to Sheikh. First question is from Donald. How different is Network Plus as compared to CCNA?
Right. So this is the question which I hear, like, people are getting confused, like, should they go for CCNA or Network Plus? So I would say Network Plus is not kind of, vendor specific. If you do CCNA, you are specific to Cisco. Now there's another story, like Cisco is ruling world right now, when it comes to networking. That's where people feel if they could go for CCNA, that is where, it'll be easy for them to control other devices from Juniper and all that. But I have seen myself, CCNA is going to be a little bit, bigger, there's a lot of content in this. But if you want to understand, like, basics of networking, everything in that, so Network Plus is going to cover that. And exam would be like, if you're preparing for the exam, it will be a little easy here, when it comes to Network Plus. So it's a vendor neutral. And there are a lot of benefits, if you go for Network Plus, because if you go in CCNA, so other thing which I have seen what people do when they go for CCNA, they will choose a different path. They will move to the Cisco, they will go to CCNP, they will go to CCIE, so they make their career in networking. So if you want to make your career in networking, go to the expert level, yes, choose your CCNA. But if you want to understand network basics because your objective is to choose some other certification, so just for fundamentals, then go for Network Plus.
Thank you so much, Sheikh and Joby. And before we sign off, we want to thank you all for joining us today. And if you do come up with any additional questions, feel free to send them to webinar@netcomlearning.com at any time. We hope that you found today's webinar informative, and we look forward to seeing you back here with us soon. Feel free to tell your friends and colleagues about our webinars and other courses. Have a great day, everybody.